Hey, top of the morning to you. I'm Michael, as the grandkids call me Rue. Thanks for being on Rue Doodles Live. It's Tuesday morning. We're in the 290 some odd days, getting close to 300 days that I've been painting. So that's 300 hours plus that I've been coming to you live on this streaming apparatus. That's all a bunch of cables and wires and computers and cameras and all the whatnots and who's it's what's and all those things that it takes up to make this show come alive. A messy desk, just stuff everywhere. I'm going to have to take a few days or maybe a year off and clean up. Not really, but it would take me that long if I decided to. So good to have you on the show this morning. Thanks for being on. Let me show you the desk. There it is right there. It's showtime. Whoa, there it is right there. There's Rube. And toss him over. I've got some Kilimanjaro paper on the desk this morning. Love this paper. Love it because it's bright white. It's in a small paint book. And yes, it goes well in the bug out bag. So if I need to get the heck out of Dodge, I can do it. And so let me say hello to a few of you. And let me say hello to some as I just skipped through. And then, hey, I know this is coming to you. Got some notes yesterday about a lot of people that said, oh, you're frozen. No, I'm 93 degrees here, but I know what you meant. You're buffering, you're frozen. And I got to tell you, I went back through the tape and recording. Sometimes the microphone will stretch me out like the chipmunks. That may be your streaming lines and not mine. It could be mine. It's the internet. Do you realize how fortunate I have been to stream? Think about all the live streaming things you watch. Very few, mostly. Most things you watch are all pre-recorded, all television, all news tape. You might see news live, but you're talking about major satellite systems that are set up for millions and billions of dollars and not $25 and $6 silver taped together that I do this show with. So the point is, it happens. We're running through a Mac computer. I'm running through a piece of software that comes into my computer that's all connected to a camera up here. Boom. And then one over there. And so let's see, and that's that one there. And it's a very heavy-duty Canon camera that I use in my video business. And so I do sometimes what I tell people to do when I'm interviewing them. Look as far down that piece of glass as you can and see if you can see the audience in the eye and say, good morning and thank you for being here. There's lights hooked up. There's audio that comes in. I have to make sure that audio is not infringed on copyright. Even if Facebook thinks it is and I've paid for the songs, sometimes their computer will catch it and shut the show down. It just stops and you'll go, oh, come on, really? I bought this music, so I can't play what's on the radio. I can't play your favorites. I can't play anything. So I have to be very careful, like the songs that I pick and choose, all those. So I'm just telling you this because someday you're going to want to get into this. Some of you have been concerned that you hear me saying, oh my gosh, he's leaving Facebook, and that's where our community is, and that's where we connect with one another, and that's how we comment, and that's how we keep our conversation going. When he's off on a tangent telling a story somewhere, well, we're typing to one another about recipes and how to make biscuits. I love that. Keep doing that. My point is this. I'm not going to leave Facebook. I am going to start streaming to YouTube also. And so it takes me a while to get another piece of software lined up that's called a restreaming piece for a simulcast. So I can send this signal to Facebook and I can send it to YouTube. Now here's what happens. Guess what happens when it's all said and done and threaded through? The YouTube people see the Facebook people and you all, it just comes up with a little arrow or it comes up with a little F of Facebook. So you go, oh, so those people are watching on Facebook. Sometimes in some cities, Facebook comes through so much slicker and cleaner. Facebook is discombobulated by all the different rules and regulations and logarithms and all that. And so it makes it hard to stream through. All right. So think about how many live streams. So don't get upset. Here's the thing. If it goes off and it freezes, paint something. Be creative in that time. Go make another cup of tea. And generally, it'll be on the show, either Facebook or YouTube live, and you can find it there. And I'll start hashtagging in such a way. So I hope that's clear. I'm not leaving Facebook. this is a great community for me. I love doing auctions here. I love selling my work on here. I love catching up with grandkids and kids and family. But at the same time, there's another platform I want to push to. So that's why I'm asking you, if you haven't found Roo Doodles on Facebook, go find it, subscribe there. In fact, there's a little bell there. And eventually, and this is going to be later this summer because I'm crazy busy right now, I will have all this other software aligned, and I'll run it to both formats so it can happen. So you can watch it on whichever one you prefer. I'm not going to go to Instagram with it, although I do have an Instagram account. If you want to follow Roo Doodles or Michael Hahn on Instagram, you can do that. Love it. I post out just little short pieces every now and then. Short is hard for me, right? I'm a storyteller. Short is hard for a storyteller. In fact, I'm 6'5", so I'm not even short. So all right, so here we go. Let me say hello. Hope that helps a little bit and clear up some of the madness. If things go down on the internet, just think what's happening, man. All these signals are going through there. I'm just blown away that we can build a community. And other people are looking at this community and even art communities and going like, man, those people take care of each other. They are diehard people who not only love art. What did Bob Ross say? Oh, you thought this show was about painting? Not a chance. This is about people connecting and helping one another. Oh, heck yeah, we're artists. We think like artists. Do you see what's happening here? You are not just the audience. You're the show. Thank you. All right. Jennifer Parker, thanks for being on the show. Patricia Deaton, buenos dias. If I had to spell that every morning, I wouldn't do too well. Bob Hendrick, morning from the day late and $1 short cornfields of Iowa. Man, lived on that block all of my life. A day late and $1 short. We used to say another day, another nickel. And somebody would say, you got a raise? Good morning from cool and gray, Wisconsin. Linda Lawless, Donna Sell Barton, thanks for being on the show. Karen Binder. Tamerly Marie, thank you for being on the show. Hey, Tom, good morning to you. Top, bottom, and all sides of the morning from the island on the coast of Maine. I've made my decision, Tom. I am coming up to Maine. I don't know where, but we're going to fly in sometime later, maybe in September when the trees are turning and when the maples look beautiful. I've never seen it, but I want to come up there and I want to just stand on the coast. And I think I just lost a camera again this morning. Crazy as it is. I'll restart it here in a second. I didn't lose it. It just clicked off. So you never know. I could have hit it with my dadgum coffee cup this morning. Because my office has been taken apart and I've been shooting a lot of videos, it's hard to get things back in. So give me 1 second and I'll click into that. And just a little music to let me be creative with. Here it is right here. Why don't we just go into something that everybody likes to listen to and I'll get this camera back on. Just think I'm Charlie Chaplin over here in the corner, dancing around trying to get to the switch. Oh, watch out for that cable. Look out, got that. Look out, whoa. Ha! I think I got it back on. All right, this is crazy feel, isn't it? Slide me back over there. All right. Mercy sakes. Okay. So, Tom, good morning to you. Tom's a good artist, man. Virginia Man, thanks for being on the show. Sandy Road. Denise Albright. Jason Nichols says he's making chocolate chip cookies. Brother, there should be a rule about going to the bar before 10 o'clock and making chocolate chip cookies before noon. But I'm not going to say anything about you, okay? But I want you to make some architectural cookies. Don't think about making cookies just round. Just take 2 cookies and make them in the shape of a building. Okay, just 2. The rest of them can just be round and you scoop them in there, but just take 2 cookies. Shoot a photograph. I want to see them. Okay, Susie DeLay, good morning to you. Thank you for being on the show. Betsy Sobolewski, Jackie Wallace, Trish Brown, Ann Westra, another sweatshirt morning in Minnesota. Unbelievable. You people are needing sweatshirts, but it's raining here. If you took the bucket out right now, it would fill up quickly if you were just carrying it. Dorothy Beasley, thanks for being on the show. Pat Brooks, morning, Pat. And Pat and I have been texting a little bit back and forth. She's been keeping me up on some things, but also the book is happening. thank you for using your hard-earned money to start to purchase this book, Noodle, Doodle, Fiddle, Piddle. I'm going to share something out of it this morning that I hope, and I'll do that from time to time because, well, we've just written it and it's new and we're excited about it. And Pat's done the artwork and I've written the stories of why the artwork's what it is. So I'm going to share a little bit of that as we go through this morning. So it'll be fun. Sue Kane all the way from Australia, down under. So it's sometime late in the afternoon there. So you've pushed through your morning. You can have chocolate chip cookies, Sue. It's time down there. Dolores Boland, thanks for being on the show. Deborah Toller. Sharon Clark Clifton, storyteller she is. Storytelling is important. In fact, I'm going to do a story about storytelling this morning. Kim Sheets, I saw a post yesterday that said, you make soap, because you saw my grit post. You saw my grit post of my grit painting this month. Just came out. Here's Grit Magazine. They sent me the topics, and one of them was about soap making, and the other one was about mulberries. And so I said, well, why can't I put soap making and mulberries together? And so that's what I did. So I did a little soap family here. There's the wash tub. There's a little heating the thing they need. There's some lard. There's a little bit of wax. Just here's the pan pouring the soap molds in. There's a mixing bowl. All these little peeps are down in here amongst a mulberry limb. And he says, here's another limb. He says, and why are you making mulberry soap? I thought soap was made out of lye. Well, the kids lie now, she said. So I asked them to wash their mouth out. So I wanted to at least, with soap, I at least want it to taste good. My mom used to say that to me. You want me to wash your mouth out with soap? And I go, I don't want you to wash me anywhere with soap, Mom. No, forget it. And so that's in grit. But Kim, I have some of your soap. I love it. You know what? And I still haven't washed my hands with it. I just leave it right over there. You think I'm kidding? I'll show you. Look at that. Oh, it's unwrapped. It has a little clove in it because I smell it so beautifully. And I leave it on the little dish. I didn't want to wash my hands with it because I like the way I was in a small studio. So I unwrapped it and I'll turn it over from time to time. So I'll just take it and I'll rub it like this. Oh, man. And I just let it it's orange clove. So it just stays on there. So this is Kim's soap. I love it right here. So I'll put it over. I literally smell it when I walk in the office. So I want you to think I was tuning in from work with the sound way down, no shouting. Okay. All right, I can't shout. She said I can't shout. Okay. Morning from across the border. Barbara is coming to me from up in Canada, where they say, eh? And the maple syrup comes from. I'm making pancakes when I leave the show today. All right, let me paint something and let me get busy. And Annette, thank you for being on the show. How to tell real leather rue. Ooh, how about that? Annette, you've been searching the internet. Annette says, Google how to tell real leather. Yeah, if you, there's some YouTubes out there that I did for a company that I really love. It's called Buffalo Jackson, and they make great leather products. Well, honestly, the buffalo and the cows make great leather products, and even some of the Asian water buffalo. We don't have buffalo in this country. We have bison, okay? Buffalo are Asian water buffalo. That's just how it is. We call them buffalo because we've just known them as the native buffalo. But really, the big animal that we love as the buffalo is called a bison. So there's bison leather, and then there's buffalo leather. But there's real leather, and there's real genuine leather. Then there's genuine leather, and then there's leather parts. And so I did a video with them about how to tell real things from one and the other, and it's out there somewhere on Google. Buffalo Jackson real leather. Oops, I just knocked the microphone over. All right, here we go. Let me paint something for us this morning. Joanne. Is it Siegla? I know I pronounced that wrong. Sielka. I'm so sorry I butcher all these names, but I didn't do well even just reading regular words. So you can tell. All right. Here we go. I think I'm going to just draw with this pen this morning. This is the Lamy pen. I haven't done a full-blown painting with this pen in a long time. I'm just going to rip a page of this off. Rip a page out of Davy Crockett's diary. There it is right there. Kilimanjaro paper, 140 pound, 100% cotton. If this bothers you while you're painting, if this little tab bothers you right here, there's a couple ways to get rid of it. One is just grab a pocket knife like this and just do a little slide right down the edge like this. and break it off. The other is just reach out here and just rip it off like this. And then if I do that, it makes me think of having a cool edge. And so I might just go around and rip off the other edge like this. So I do this sometimes just to, I just want to be a little bit different than everybody else. I love that, If everybody else is losing their head, keep yours. And if everybody else is keeping their head, lose yours. Okay, so just rip the paper if you want to. Look, if you frame it, it isn't going to matter, or somebody might just want to put it in a frame and say, why does he paint on ripped paper? I ripped some yesterday, and you guys gave me the good grief for it. Good grief. You could have painted on the back of that. You could have knitted that into a pair of socks for your grandmother. I didn't want to. Jason says he's been using Restream for Facebook and YouTube. There you go, man. Yeah, it does work pretty dang well. And Jason, I've been building on Facebook all this time, and I'm ready to go. And then I just post mine to YouTube, and people can see them later because that works in time zones that I'm jumping across really well, because you get more views after the show than you do during the show. But I love the community here. All right, so here's what I want you to do. I'm going to scroll all the way up to the bottom of the comments here. And so I'm at Grandma's feet are cold too, so she needs a pair of socks. Thanks for catching that joke. My mom would say, you throwing that cloth away? You don't throw that thread away. We can knitted your grandmother a pair of socks. I'm like, I'm not knitting her any socks. Hey, listen, storytelling can be about anything and everything. And when I set out to draw a painting, I believe that somehow it has to have a connection or a storytelling to connect. So these are the things that I'm pushing you toward. I'm not pushing you to be, oh, you have to paint this way or that way, or this color or that color, or this brush or that brush. I tell you what I use, but that's not my push. My push is that you would do art that would connect with people. Kids, grandkids for sure. School kids for sure. I think children are so important. But other adults for sure. Guests, senior living situations, hospitals, just normal everyday mom and pop households, businesses, companies. Some of you are doing logos for businesses. You're doing humor for magazines. Whatever it is you're doing, you have to connect some form or fashion. That's what the story part is for. And so everything out there, everything that was created, the maker made everything. Everything that was created can be used to tell stories. That's the story I want to share with you. Everything is fodder. We think it's throwawayable, but it's not. It's fodder for a story. So here's what I want you to do. I'm amazed. Yeah, Denise, don't be amazed at your dogs are good. Their faces are bright. Their bodies are clean and crisp. They have personality. So if you're going to paint a character, just don't paint a cute little character like everybody else's character. Put a little spin on there somewhere, a little flicker in his eye, a little mischievousness, a little something. The way the eyebrow goes up to show a little frustration or anger, or something that you do. In your flowers, bring in a color. One of my favorite artists, and we were friends with her in Asheville, North Carolina years ago, and her name will come back to me right now in a minute because I worked with her daughter so much in theatrical things. Sally Middleton. Oh my goodness. Look up Sally Middleton watercolor, and you want to see a fine art watercolor. I shot a film one time, commercial in her house, and she had her easel set up. But this was eons ago. This was in the 80s in Asheville. She's standing out doing plein air painting one day. You know, plein air, right? That's where you paint outside, unless you're from the South, and we call it painting outside. She was painting, and she was doing her fine art watercolor, and she paints pine needles. It's oh my gosh, it's very Bob Timberlake fine art watercolor. Sally Middleton. So Sally was painting. And this happened in the 70s, maybe late 60s, early 70s. And she's painting. And while she was painting, a feather, a blue jay feather, drifts down. A bird just flies out of the tree, and he loses a little feather, and it floats down. This is not a setup. This is a true story. It floats down, and it lands on the ground near her easel. And it just catches her as it drifts by. She goes, oh, my goodness. She picks it up and she holds it. Now, here's an artist who has her brushwork, who has her palette laid out, and she's painting on this canvas or on paper. But it's tilted out a little bit because she's a watercolor fine artist. But you can paint fine art watercolor on a pretty straight canvas because you're not using very much water. You're just using a damp brush and you're dragging in colors and little, I mean, when you see her work, the flower petals are just remarkable. She holds up the feather and she's looking at the feather. She tells us this story. And she goes, I've got to put that feather in this painting. And so she goes in and she starts painting this little feather inside the painting. And she loves it. It's a blue jay feather. And so she puts it in her book, her journal, and she keeps it. The next painting she does, she takes that feather and she arranges it somewhere else and she puts it in one of her other floral paintings. People started noticing this blue jay feather and it became her trademark. So you look at Sally Middleton's paintings today, and she's probably long gone off the planet. I haven't been in touch with her in years. She was just one of those contacts. We lived in Asheville for 16 years, and we worked in the arts community, and so worked in camping, and so we met her. But the point is, and like I said, I worked with her daughter, who was Sally Jr. And so there's that blue jay feather. So it had a story, and the story linked you to the painting. Like, oh, man, look at this. It's brilliant. So she used that feather because there are people who wanted to buy her paintings to just that they could find. Sometimes you would hide it way inside there. Anyway, so whatever it is, your paintings need to connect with people. They need to tell a story. Right now, somebody just give me a subject. Just give me a subject. Just say cows. Just say I don't care, roast beef. I don't care what you say. Just send me. Keep it clean. Keep it family show. You will. This is a good audience. Just send me. I'll pick. Send me a word. Just give me a word. Boom. Give me. Not a sentence, but a word. What could it be? Could it be? I don't care what it is. Just give me something and I'll grab it. Honeybees. Perfect. Okay. Sandy Row. I love it. Honeybees. Cactus. Balloon. Okay. Tree. Perfect. Okay. Salmon. I love it. Coffee and sheep. That's enough. Okay, I got it. All right, so here's what we'll do. We'll take. So you know I already paint honeybees, and you know for me, work is a good one. So you know for me to take a honeybee. So here's what I want you to do sometimes. If you want your art to connect to story, and these are some videos that I'm going to do maybe this year and into fall that I'm going to put on YouTube about storytelling. And I've been promising this, but I've been looking for the angle to come in. I traveled for a long time as a singer-songwriter, storyteller. And I even had some work with Disney that I did in storytelling. And I'm going to tell you a little piece of that story today. And I would say to them, you write 4 words on a card, you write 4 words on a card, have your family write words on a card, and you just look at those words. And now I have my words right here. I have bird feeder, I have pickles, I have shells, I have camping, I have bridges, I have fibber jabib, which is Donna Sell Barton. I can tell you what that is. That's a Rube Goldberg piece. I have popsicles. There's only one popsicle, June Jones, and it is a quiescently frozen confection, and it comes from Mayfield's, which is out of Knoxville, Tennessee. And now Bluebell makes them, but Mayfield's makes the best banana quiescently frozen confection. So popsicles should not be called popsicles. They should be called quiescently frozen confections. Bluebell's even put it on their box. Quiescently frozen confections. So see, if I were going into a bunch of kids and I had a little cooler there and I'm going like, right now, I could just use a quiescently frozen confection. And they're going like, what's wrong with this man? I don't know where he's coming from. But as soon as I hold it up, they go, it's a banana popsicle. I go, it is not. This is a quiescently frozen confection. Quiescently? Look the word up. It's brilliant how it takes still time and coolness and space and quiet to quiescently freeze something. So you see what I just did? So that's what I want you to learn as an artist. I want you to just go, let's dig just a little bit deeper. Let's put the shovel down and don't just turn over one spade. Turn over a hole and see what you find down there, okay? All right. Flamingos. Yeah, well, I'm writing a poem right now that has to do with flamingos. Flamingos are pink because of what they eat. So if it wasn't for the shrimp, they wouldn't be. Perfume. Have you ever had perfume designed for you? Have you ever gone into a place and let them put all the smells in front of you and say, oh, I want some of that, I want some of this, and then maybe take a skin texture and touch each one, and then they'll put it into, and you can name it, and then they will give it a name and they will file it. If you go back to St. Thomas Island right now and you go into the perfume shop, and you will find one of my wife's fragrances, Bon Vivant, and it's there. And so she can order it at any time. She can call them and say, send me the Bon Vivant. So she was down there with a friend and said, let's go make our own fragrance. So you see, so that's taking it to the next level. Bob's New Table. Bob's New Table has personality. Bob's New Table has every jot and tittle, every scratch, every dent, every bolt thread that's been hammered on it, every burn mark tells a tale of someone, okay? It's like a dog walking across the yard and smelling every squirrel, every deer, every toad that crossed during the night. It's his biology, olfactory heritage. That's what we need to do with painting sometimes. I'm talking about digging a deep hole here, okay? All right. A cat. I had a cat named Tom. That's original, isn't it? And Tom was a big orange cat. Tabby had a head like a truck, and he could be sleeping. You could slam the door. You could drop a brick. You could hammer nails. You could do anything until you opened the door of the refrigerator and took the cellophane off of a piece of sliced cheese. He was in the kitchen going, ah, loved cheese. And so work, eggs over easy. My cartoon book has a pun in it about how easy it is to weld when you're a welder, and it talks about how easy that is. That would be over easy, and but there's also another one in there. It's I'm gonna let you fly it. There it is, right there. I'm gonna let you fly it. But all the time I talk about over easy, and I think it's the one where they're carrying the eggs home right here. It says this bot has smooth springs for a safe arrival and ride back to the house, and the basket, once lifted up, sits right on the counter. The driver is conducting a safe passage for fresh eggs delivered, and your work is over easy. There, did you get it? It's an egg pun. Don't miss it. It's over easy. And so I do that for kids every now and then. So over easy to me is how this should become. Coffee, donkeys, the Jerusalem donkey, the Bethlehem donkey. Do you know the Bethlehem donkey? It literally has, look at his back, has a cross on his back as a reminder that he carried a very special mom one time on their way to Bethlehem. Look at the donkey. Look at the Bethlehem donkey. Look it up. A balloon, a cactus, honeybees. My point in you doing all that was not for me just to go into stories, but each one of those in your life should fire a tone. And you go, honeybees. My dad was a beekeeper. Up on the counter here and over there, I have my dad's bee tool. Okay? I have a book on my shelf right now that has his signature in it. Basic honeybee knowledge. My dad was a smart beekeeper, and that's where his education was. He was the bee county inspector for Knox County, Tennessee. So if you sold honey, my dad did it. Okay, so I could take any of those and I could do a story, and I do that quite often with my paintings. And so the reason that people connect to your dogs, Denise, and the reason that people connect to the gnomes, Chris Whitaker, and the reason that people, this pen is not wanting to write worth a flop today. Okay, so I'm going to just make all y'all happy. I'm going to turn it around, and I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to draw in the back. I wasn't going to do it, but I'm doing it now. Okay. And it's been laying there drying out while I've been running my garb here. Okay, so the reason that people connect to your art is because they see something in the subject that rings that little bell, that sets off that tone that makes them go, oh man, I love that so much. Could I be a part of that? And the answer is yes, I made you a part when I painted it. I might have been thinking about my own story, but I'll let you have it in. So now you're getting an introduction of why I love story and storytelling. So it needs to connect. It is so important to your art. Tom does it all the time in his buildings. Denise does it in her dogs. I'm just naming a few. Um, Julie Walden does it in her faces, the way she just throws the paint in there and leaves negative spaces. Pat does it more deliberately. She does it with words that has space and whimsicalness in between them. And so some art, you don't have to think as hard as others. And that's really cool. We wanted this to be one of those. Everything is fodder for a story. And the little dragonfly says, ooh, what happens next? And you want to think about it. And so what I've done on the page is next to Pat's art is I've written a story. See, I came from a story where I grew up thinking everybody was a storyteller. I didn't know there were storytellers and non-storytellers. I thought everybody just communicated in stories because my family did. Hey, you know what happened today? And they would go down this long, winding path. We called it By Jerusalem. My dad would say, well, you got there, son, but you went by Jerusalem, which meant a long, long way around. And so my dad would hold court in the backyard near the garden, near the honey house. There's the bees. We had the Han Honey House, H with a 3 on it. People pulled up a chair, they got a cup of coffee or a glass of sweet iced tea, and they just listened. I was a singer, songwriter, storyteller when I was in my early 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s. I wasn't young then, but I was still doing it. And one time early on, I walked out at a stage and there was people in the audience, and I hit a chord on my guitar and the place kind of hushed. And I just reached over and I hung my guitar up, or I set it down on a stand. I had a wall behind me. Sometimes I'd hang things on. It's called Off the Wall. And I didn't say, oh, I'm going to tell you a story. I didn't say, this is the best story you've ever heard. I didn't say, this is a funny, funny story. You're going to love this. All I did was I said, there's a time when I was walking through Tobler's field and I found an old cedar fence post that was leaning against the barbed wire. And very carefully, it had another post there, and I didn't think his cows would get out. So I took that post and I broke it up in some pieces, and I cut the pieces of that out and I put it in my back pocket, and I took it to the store where the men were. And I realized everybody is listening to this story because they were wondering where I was going to go with this. And I took this heart cedar and I went on to the store and I wound up, a couple of the guys reached down in their pockets and they said, hey, I'll give you 25 cents for that stick. That's nice red cedar. That's good woodland cedar. And I said, here, I got 25 cents. The other guy said, I'll give you 25 cents for that one. So I said, 25 for this one. And in a moment, I had 6 or 7 sticks that just sold, and I had my money for a moon pie and a drink and all the things. And I'm going like, this is genius. Then I came back out and they're all just whittling there. And what are they doing? They're telling stories. So for me to tell that story connected another generation to the power of a cedar post and the smell of cedar. And I know I've told some of you that I was invited several years ago in St. Augustine, Florida, to go down and tell a story for the School of the Blind and the Deaf. So they asked me to come in. And they said, how are you going to communicate this? And I said, slowly, carefully. And then it dawned on me, cedar stick. And I grabbed my pocket knife and I grabbed some cedar. And I went down and I just whittled off a lot of fresh shavings so the cedar would just be rich. And I had like 4 or 5 pieces of the cedar. And I said, isn't it just like God to make a tree? And then inside the tree, as far as you could go inside until you started going out the other side, was called the heart of the tree. Oh, wait, no, that's kind of how it works in here too. You got this heart that's like right there. It's not right in the middle, but it's pretty close. And so it's just like the heart of the tree to be the most important part. I mean, it smells the richest. It is where the life runs through the tree. And so as I was building the story, these children who were being communicated to both visually with sign language and also the blind who were listening and their heightened senses. So I was slowly telling this story and I was just still being me. And they were the ones who could see were watching me and reading my lips, and they were being communicated to in sign language. The ones who couldn't see were imagining me just wailing around and frailing and talking and hitting the piece of cedar. But I said, there's one point where I want to change the story for everyone. And so I took several little sticks and I started passing them around through the audience. And as I was continuing to tell the story of how my uncle or my grandfather would slide his knife blade over the cedar stick, and the little curly shaving would drop to the floor, and sometimes he'd wet it in his tea or his coffee, and it would start to uncurl. And I would tell the story. That stick would make it by someone, and they would grab it. And one of those children in there, especially the blind children, would grab that thing, and they would hold it up to their nose, and they would go, and then you could hear them go, and it changed the story for me. They were immersed with all their senses, and some of their senses, as you and I have as artists and painters, were missing. The sound, the smell, not the smell, but the taste, but the sight. And so anyway, there's a way that you can communicate with any audience with a story. So for you to help yourself do this, and if you're the only person, then just flip a book open. It's why words are so important. Find 4 words today and then do a little digging on them. Find 3. Let's just find 3 words today. Find a little digging on them and create a story out of them. So everything is fodder for a story. I'll get back to that, but I want to show you something else that can happen right here. I'm going to paint some. I haven't painted this morning. I've just been in a talking mood, and I appreciate you listening. But I want you to know that there's more to your art than just scrubbing a brush against paper. There's so much more than that. There is so much more than that. I love to just paint with water first. I love to just touch it in there. Don't paint the whole thing. You're not using a roller. You're using a little brush to touch it in. And then I like to just go in and let my brush dance in color. Grab a little bit of black and blue. I just love how that comes in. And today, I'm feeling like the tail of this roo has to have some serious orange in it. I just felt it coming on early at. I think he's got to have a little terry-tarty turquoise down there on the legs and the belly of this thing. A lot more than usual. Just wanted that to roll. I'm going to grab some gamboge, drop it in here like so. And I'd been at this about 42 seconds so far, and you can see that the rooster is just about finished. I'm going to grab some yellow and gamboge and also some red, create his legs. We create a little green across the grass here on the bottom. And I just basically have this rooster done. I'm done. I'm not going to go in and fill any more in. I might bring my pen in a second, maybe a fountain pen, or maybe, and just go in here. Sorry, that's coming up just a little bit louder there than I wanted it to. A cactus would be a great story, wouldn't it? Anyone's having problems with focus? You're painting a little rooster, not a barn. Becky Bailey says. All right, so yeah, I'll put his toenails in. Don't worry, I didn't let that dry a little bit. And then what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna come in with my little pen right here. And so you guys brought honeybees. You know what I always do? This is the best conversation going on in the farmyard right here. This is it. And take a big old brush. Wow, I'll get a smaller brush. Let's just make this easier on myself. Come on. Let's just get a small brush here. Here's one right here. Here's a little old brush. It's probably a number 1. I'm just going in. I'm going to grab a little bit of orange, a little bit of this yellow, and come in. I'm going to do his head in this right here and just put it around. What I drew him with was with a Pintail 03. Yep, I knew I had one hiding out there somewhere. I found it recently, and so I just took some time and did that. So what I can do is I'm going to get a little bit of yellow and put it in here like this, just in between, just right there, a little bit in his head. Come back. I want to do a little bit of French gray in these wings just to give them a little bit of a different flow. And I'm going to come back, and now I'm going to take a pen, maybe this extreme, this is a Yositoma or a Y&C Extreme Gel Extreme 05, and I'm just going to come in. I'm going to use it to put the black in this B right there like that. Just put that in there. Look at that. That looks pretty cool, huh? And I might put a little couple tips in here. And then I'm going to put his two antennae out there like that. Draw his feet down like so. And then another one coming out the back and one coming out this way. And then, you know, if he's carrying pollen back to the hive, I got to put a spot right there so it looks like he's loaded down and heading home. And maybe that's the whole story. Where's my pen? Here it is right here. Okay, these have dried a little bit. You see where that ink ran on that paper, so that'll just mean that I'll go back in and get a little bit of a brush here in a second, grab myself a little more orange and come in and just highlight those. Okay, chicken feet are gray. Sometimes they are gray. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt. Look what they walk in all the time. It's no big deal. Put a little bit of veining in here, draw some more grass underneath, some sprigs here, and then I wanted to put some marks in here, put this on his beak, a little bit of detail with this. I like to come in now with my pen and just let some of that go. This is Kilimanjaro paper, so what I could do here with this is I'll just come in and do a little bit of a splatter across here with some water like this. And then I'm going to just go get a little bit of this French blue and just let it wade in. Barely. Put some on and then work it in like this before it turns into sky. Gives you a little bit of a different feel. Don't worry about coming in and painting your sky all smooth. You don't look up and see that. You go, I wish God had painted that smoother today. Just paint it as it comes. Just drop your brush in and have some fun with it. And then get a little bit of just a little splatter in here like so. Just to roughen it up a little more. This rooster needs a beauty spot. And it probably needs to be out of red. There it is right there. Boy, I got some real ones going that time. Splattered all over the place. Okay, so there's a little honeybee and a rooster having a conversation. And that's a whole story for me. And so I do that quite often. And don't overwork your paintings. Add the water, add the color. And if there's too much water, if there's too much, you still like it's flopping around a little bit, reach in here with a paper towel and just touch it and pull some off like that. And let the stain be. Don't look at that and say, oh, he left a stain up there, wish it weren't there. That's not what's going to draw your eye. What's going to draw your eye is this subject matter right here. Boom. What could that rooster be saying? Or better yet, the rooster is always the farm bard. He's the poet. What could that bee be saying to that rooster? Okay? Is it a trade? Is it a deal? Is it a, roosters and honeybees get along okay because they're smart enough to know I'd rather eat a smaller bug. By the time I bite into you, I'm going to get stung in the cheek. But they will eat them. Okay, a rooster will eat about anything you throw out in the yard. Okay, been there, done that, got the t-shirt. Okay. All right. So, but my point is today is as much about art is as much about storytelling to me as it is about art. And I said this early, Bob Ross, and I'll say it again. This show is really not about art. This show is about communicating to people that you think like an artist. See the difference? When you take the heat off and think, oh, I've been doing this for a year. I wish I were a better artist. I never, very rarely, can't say I never. There are days I go, man, I watched this documentary on Itzhak Perlman, and I think at age 11, this dude was playing virtuoso violin music. He was just gifted that way. I'm not sad that I'm not. I love that this art came to me in this season of my life when I have time, used to have more time, to just sit down and noodle with it, doodle with it, fiddle, piddle with it. Those are 4 words that are important in my creative process. It didn't take me long to name the book. I've been doing that for a long time. Noodle, doodle, fiddle, piddle has been how you be creative. My son and I are working on a television show again. And yesterday we noodle, doodle, fiddle, piddle on ideas for a long time. That's got to work. And so that's what we do. That's what you do when you sit down to your desk. Just make it so that you know the backstory and it connects. You're going to see that as much in this book as anything else. If you want to help communicate this to young artists, you're going to say, hey, be creative and use what you have. Know what you're talking about. You're going to say, holidays are important. Balance and composition are important. What I was going to say here is this. The best storytellers can reach into their pocket and they can find a silver dollar or an old knife, or they can reach into the shop junk drawer and they pick up something on the ground while they're walking. They can weave it into a tale. Storytelling is an art form. Painting is an art form, and it needs to connect. So I believe you must tell stories. Good stories connect people to memories and ideas and hopes and dreams. It's iced tea. It's backyard by the garden. It's looking out at the gourds hanging. The gourds that my dad had turned into martin houses. It was watching the martins dance through the corn stalks. And all the corn stalks were there, the ones that long since done. And we hadn't cut them down and hauled them off and made corn shocks out of them for the fall coming up yet. And they still had fodder hanging off the ends. And that fodder on the end was good food for the corns, or for the cows, so we would chop them up. And the cows became dinner some nights that we cooked out. And over that dinner, we told more stories. So that fodder was important. It was important in a connection. So make a list of 3 things today that connect you to the story. 3 things. It says it right here. They might need to be painted. Everything is fodder for a story. So that's the book. And that's how I would take what I would say. And so when I went to Disney to tell a story, they invited me down to the Disney Institute, and I was interviewing for a job there. They brought me in from a storytelling camp, and they said, we want you to tell to our whole team. So they brought everybody in. So I took a hand truck and I rolled into their office and into the elevator and up a flight of stairs and into the upper office in Kissimmee, Florida, in Celebration now, I think it's called. And I went in there and I sat down and they said, here he is. And so I rolled this thing to the front and I set it down and I opened up a steamer trunk. And if you don't know what a steamer trunk is a trunk that traveled on big ships across the Atlantic, okay, or Pacific or wherever, across the seas. And so I have a steamer that I've had for a long time. It was made in 1937 in Knoxville, Tennessee at Whittle Trunk Company. It had drawers. It was cedar lined. It had the part that pulled out. It had a flip up top with a little drape that where you could hang your hanging clothes. The hangers were made out of wood, and they had a W in them for Whittle. I still have the trunk. It's for sale if you want it. I don't use it anymore. But before I went to the Disney and drove down to Orlando, I just took a couple drawers that I have, and I just dumped things out of them. I took an old stapler. I took an anvil. I took a small piece of forged steel. I took an old pocket knife from my granddad. I took some paintbrushes. I took banjo strings. I took my finger picks. I took a harmonica. I took all the things that were just in a junk drawer, and I dumped them in different parts of the drawers, and I just put it in the back of my truck. I drove down there, and I didn't even worry about sorting it out. And I was convincing them that you don't go in and say, okay, kids, I got this stuffed animal, and today I want you to sit down because I'm going to tell you a story about my little stuffed animal friend. And when I was 3rd grade and teachers would come in and do that, I'm going like, why don't you just bring in a real animal? If you want to eat a real animal, tell me. I got quail, I got rabbits, I got a rooster in a pen, I got all kinds of chickens, I got 26 bird dogs. You want an animal? I'll bring you an animal. I got some cows. I got a milk cow that runs off every Sunday. So for bringing in a stuffed animal for me wasn't the thing. But if she came in and said, I want to tell you about this frog that I had, and then later in the story, she slid her hand up into a hand puppet, now I'd be maybe pulled in. So I want you to learn how to pull people in, not telling them you're going to tell a story, just start telling a story. So I told the folks at Disney that a story could come from anywhere. Everything is fodder for a story. This was in the early 90s when I was interviewing for a job there. And I just opened the drawer and I said, you come here, and you come here, and you come here. 3 people came up and I said, just reach in here. You got about 10 seconds each to reach in there and find something and just set it on the table in front of me, just like you sent me a list. And they sent 3 things out. And one of them was a little cannon. It's right over there, a little ship's cannon. And I thought, okay. And one of them was, I don't even remember what the other one was because the cannon sort of took the whole thing, but it was a cannon. And I said, okay, I'm going to tell a story about each one of these. And I'm never going to tell the kids in my class that I'm telling a story. I'm just going to pick this up and say, thank you. I forgot I had this in that drawer. This cannon right here, why, this is a replica off of the Bismarck. And then I'd start telling this story about the cannon, or I'd tell about the kids who went and saw cannon demonstrations, and on and on and on. So my imaginary backpack was filled with things that I could connect all of those things to. You need to just be able to pop it in when somebody throws it down like that. So now you want to know where captions come from? That's where captions come from. All right? So I hope you see what I'm trying to do today. It's not about me painting all the time. It's about me helping you, now that some of you are brilliant artists, connect what you're painting so that the broadened path of that story goes out farther and drips farther. So now it's those dogs that have certain things to say. It's where I thought I was going to go with my manual for my roosters when they had important things to say. And then I realized, no, it's just everyday language that inspires people. I get inspired every now and then by some great speech, but I think some speechwriter wrote on that forever and ever and ever. These are just everyday sayings, and some things that I hadn't said until this year. That I'm saying art is a great light. You just need to go stand in it every now and then. You think, what do I mean to do? I mean, go to a museum and just stand there. Go outside at sunset with a cup of tea and sit on a rock and just ponder and wonder and watch the clouds paint. And then maybe take a journal with you and say, don't be sad that you're not a good cloud painter. If you want to be a good cloud painter, start painting clouds. Be happy that you're seeing art unfold in front of you and refreshed. You see, there's a difference in a mindset. So have a different mindset on storytelling. So this is about storytelling. You're going to hear this sort of story again as I put together a series of probably 6 or 8 storytelling how-tos. For schools and for kids and for teachers and for just grandparents. And those are going to be coming out on YouTube later this year. And so they'll be out there for you to find and register and take on to them. Anyway, all right, it's 10 till. I need to finish another little painting here today. Yesterday I painted this on the show in between whatevers. And this is the French press piece. And so today it's all dry. I'll go in, I'll put a little bit of detail in here. I'll come back in. I might even put some little coffee beans and nodules floating around up here like this. I'll put just some little things. So this is what I want you to do. This is why I let my art lay around on the desk every now and then and just catch some fresh ideas. I look at it with a fresh idea. I might come in with a white pen and just where I wish I'd left a little more white space in here, I might just do some flicks of sunlight going across here like this. I might even do 1 or 2 in the coffee like this, or 1 across here. Might catch it on a leg, just a touch, maybe just a couple little pieces in here. This is a white gel pen. It's made by Uniball. It's called a Signo, S-I-G-N-O. I don't use it a lot. I bet you haven't seen me use this 10 times in the last 290 something days I've been painting. I'll clean up the eye a little bit. I'll come in here. I might do that with a smaller, an 05, not an 03, but an 05. Might go in here and do a little dark shadow. And I could even go in with a fountain pen right here and touch right in here. This is what I do when I clean up, and then go in and get a brush and just come back in and touch that a little bit and let it just fade away and make a water spot. I like leaving extra water spots sometimes on my paintings. That'll be a nice one right there that'll dry in. And I'll maybe put a little touch of this here. This little peep right here needs a little bit of brownish orange on him too. Maybe just a little bit of dirt brown, like he's just been crawling around out there. Little peeps are kind of, okay. So there we go. So I cleaned that up a little bit. Maybe put some, a little more, I could go in and catch a little more cross hatching right here like this. Just create a little more grass underneath. That might look good. Right now, it's in your hands. I got a little brown in this brush because I didn't clean it out well, and I kind of like that. It's going to just show a little bit of dirtiness here. I'm going to grab some Payne's Gray, and I'm just going to whip a little Payne's Gray underneath the root like this, just to give a little bit of a shadow, and then let these tail feathers shadow like that. And same under the cup. Got just a touch of shadow right there under the cup, okay? And maybe this leg's got a little bit of a shadow. Too much, so I just danced it with my finger to get it out of there. Pull this in. I like that orange, and I put it in there. That's good. Been feeling a little orange this morning. Isn't that weird? Just wake up and go. And I went to University of Tennessee for almost a whole quarter. So I got some orange in my blood. All right. Watch the replay. Lots of awesome stories and a little philosophy too. Thank you very much, Becky. Hey, Roo Skeeter Pal. Love using the Signo. Yeah. Oh, nuts. Missed the show. You can watch it on replay. I think Pat just said that. Coffee cup stain. I love that. Yeah, we could put a coffee cup stain there. And I love doing coffee cup stains. This one, he's still waiting on the coffee to be poured. And so, but I think what I want to do is dust a little more black in here, and I'm just touching that like that. This coffee hadn't been pressed, so it's still floating around in there. Man, I love a French press. Made one yesterday when we finished the show. Today, I'm getting ready to go down and do some pancakes for the boys. There are 3 grandsons here this morning, and I'm going to do my favorite type of pancake. Yeah, crusto, but I put ricotta cheese in them and Madagascar vanilla, and mix them up and leave them kind of thick, and then do them on a griddle, big cast iron griddle. And man, just let them cook until they're still soft on the inside, not runny, but soft and fluffy. And leave them a little thick. Don't have your pancake batter so thin. It just kind of is out. I'm not making crepes, okay? I'm making pancakes today. And heat up a little syrup. Always serve your syrup hot. Don't do that to your guest, okay? Don't give them cold syrup on a hot pancake. So always heat your syrup up. It'll change everything. Ask our Canadian friends who bring us all that great maple syrup. You want to serve that stuff hot. Hot releases all the flavors. All right, so this one was a commission work that's going to head out a little later this week, and I had to get that done. What's my rule? You say painting done in service is never as good as painting done in love. Yeah, but this is one of my paintings. This is one of the paintings that I love to do. So if you're going to take commission paintings, don't take a commission of something that you don't like to paint. Only take commissions of things you love to paint, especially until you get really where you feel so comfortable that you can just move forward. All right. Let's see. Watch the vapor trails. Yeah, watch. Ooh. I'm looking at comments. Everyone has a tremendous Tuesday. Thanks, Phil. Darn it, late, Valerie says. I have my dad's army trunk. Oh, man, there's going to be some things in there. Steamer trunk. And I'll show you pictures of my steamer sometime. It's great, man. It is cedar lined. And I've put everything. I've hauled it for years. I'm just tired of it now. My dad was a brilliant storyteller. Yep, that's what happens right there. Love LaRue, thank you. How old are your grandsons? Great question. I have 2 that are 14 and 1 that's 11. And then I have my grandchildren. My granddaughter oldest is 16. Then I have a 13 and a 9. I have 6 grandchildren right now. Add blueberries and sliced bananas. Joy, I appreciate that. But blueberries are purple. And so I don't eat purple food. But I'm just kidding you. Okay. Flip my lid. Bring on the batter. Yep. All right. Yum to ricotta and vanilla. There you go. Syrup should be kept in the refrigerator anyway. You're right about that. So just heat it up. Amen. People are saying, yeah, you guys got it down. And yeah, you're going to read all this stuff. I love that comment about Sandra. It says, I read that orange is the most unlike color. And, isn't that funny? Because my studio's painted. People say, Joel says my studio's painted orange. So it's fascinating what happens. And you're going to find people who tell you all the things. Oh, I don't like that color at all. That just wouldn't look good. And that's why some people come to my studio, or we talk to artists all the time. And I talked to a very successful artist earlier last week. And she said, one thing you won't find in here. I say, a color wheel. And she goes, yes. And I go, yeah. I said, some artists have to sit down with the color wheel and have to say, oh, this goes with this. I'm not into matchy-matchy. I'm just into, I think this looks good. The roosters don't get dressed in the morning and pull on their tail feathers and go, I think I need a little bit more magenta here. They just put on what God gives them. And so for me, I do think there's colors that don't go with other colors. But in a rooster's tail, who's to say you haven't seen that? I mean, go buy some books on roosters and it will blow your mind. They are just every color in the whole wide world. So, did you catch where I went this morning? Thanks for buying Noodle Doodle Fiddle Piddle. It's out there. Here's where you go. Go to roodoodles.com. Hit one of those. Hit the picture. Hit whatever. It'll pop up. You may have to follow the link. It'll take you to an Etsy page. Please order it on Etsy now, as that comes through me. It means I have to order them and get them in here, but it will the book is not ready in Amazon yet. It's going to be Amazon next week. They're still reviewing the changes that I made. So as soon as they give me a green light, the changes are up, and the other publisher goes through Amazon, you're not going to get a book that has all my typos. And yeah, I just made some changes. You see the little red in here? We went back through and said, no, that's supposed to have an S on it. And oh, that word right there, I didn't like that word. Change that word to and instead of the, or that instead of this, or this instead of that. And so there's some that didn't have some, and you may find a typo. Hey, it's a small thing. Read through it, okay? But I want you to have a good, clean book. The artwork's great, and Pat did a great job. So it's Noodle, Doodle, Fiddle, Piddle. Order those on Amazon. Order those on Etsy on the link. And you can also get the colored book. It's out there. And I'm going to talk about it for a few days because I'm excited. And I have people to pay who have been putting this together for me. So that works well. And then we'll zero everything out. And Pat and I'll start fresh. It'll just be so, so fun. All right. Thank you for being a part of the show. I love it when you guys are here. I have a friend who shared a great rooster story yesterday. If he gives me permission, I'll do it. Now I want some scones. Joey puts phthalo blue in there. Yeah, I never understood why phthalo blue has a T in it, but that's okay. I won't go into that. All right. Thank you for your excitement over the book. Thank you for signing up on YouTube. If you want to subscribe to YouTube, please do that. Remember, I'm not leaving Facebook, but YouTube and Facebook, I'm going to stream simultaneously. And I've already been loading Restream. I'll probably use Restream to do that. It's the one that I have up now as I use Ecamm to knock through that. But it's been fun to build this community. I'm not stopping this community. Roost Crew is so strong, and you own that already. You're not going to have a community that ends. Stay in touch with one another. Tell good stories. Appreciate each other. Take a sip of your tea or coffee right now. Grab that cuppa. I got who I'm supposed to text this morning. I've already sent out 5, but I'm sending another one right now. I'm going to send them a text and just say, hey, I thought about you today and hope you're having a blessed day. I'm out of here, and I appreciate you guys. I will see you Saturday. There's no class tomorrow. I'm done. I'm thinking about what I'm going to do, but I'm also working on a whole outline and got a crazy bunch of production work that I'm doing right now in my own life. If you haven't received a auction roof from me, I've got a few more that have to go out, and I just had some checks that came in yesterday, so those will be in the next couple of days. I'll get those going. Carol has not made it home yet. Her flight was canceled, 2 flights canceled, couldn't get back out of Dallas until Thursday, so she went to Jacksonville with a friend, and then I'm driving to Columbia, South Carolina to pick her up here in a little bit. We're crazy people, right? Hey, become a good storyteller. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Catch you next time right here on Roo Doodles Live. That'll be Saturday morning, good Lord willing.